It's June 24th, 2021. It's just after 1 o'clock on a Thursday morning after a warm June Miami night. You can hear the ocean outside of your condo screen door. The Atlanta Hawks had just beaten the Milwaukee Bucks by 3 points. You look over and you see your wife asleep on a couch. The condos you're staying in are older, but they're nicely furnished. There's even a new coat of paint on the walls. You spent the last few years looking for a vacation, and when you found a condo at Champlain South going for about 150 a night, you thought it was a good deal. The condo building itself was built in 81 and it's 12 floors, but on Miami Residence, it's described as the best of luxury realty. But you didn't know before you booked that room that in 2018, Morabito Consultants, led by engineer Frank Morabito, had inspected the Champlain, and in his inspection, he had found significant structural issues, including concrete deterioration, water damage, particularly in the parking garage and balcony areas. His report recommended urgent repairs and further monitoring of the building's condition. Morabito Consultants had worked to put together an 84-page building repair and restoration plan. It was finalized and ready to be bid on by contractors 4/26/21. That's 2 months before you checked in. The city knew about the damage, and the city allowed the building to remain open. The city was aware of significant structural cracking. This picture to the left is a detail taken from the plan submitted to the city 2 months before the collapse. You might ask, why did it take so long to begin the restoration process? Morabito did the inspection in 2018. Why is it just now happening in 2021? Well, the lack of action on the recommendations kept rental prices lower, which kept the money coming in. The condominium association consisted of elected residents who were responsible for management and oversight of the property. Everyone who was elected wanted to avoid actual repairs because they were extensive and expensive. Everybody involved in the decision making process would have been directly impacted by the costs. Florida state law is also a factor. Based on the Florida Condominium Act, the government needs to tighten laws on condominium financial planning when it comes to future repairs and maintenance. Current law allows condominium associations to waive the requirement to set aside reserves. The 1991 Florida state legislature addressed that a developer controlled association may vote to waive the reserves for the first 2 years of the operation of the association. Thereafter, waiver or reduction requires approval of a majority of non developer voting interests present at a duly called meeting of the association. Called the kick the can down the road provision by one attorney, this section of Florida condominium law allows condominium associations to waive the rule that their boards set aside adequate cash reserves to pay for needed building improvements. All it takes is a simple majority vote of the condominium unit owners who show up at a condominium association meeting to postpone the need for expensive set asides. Later in this suit, the concept of sovereign immunity will play a role in exempting the city from paying any claims. Miami has since passed Senate Bill 4D. This bill establishes milestone inspections for condominium and cooperative buildings 3 stories or higher. Now, a building like Champlain South would have been inspected at 25 years by a structural engineer. Subsequent inspections are then required every 10 years. There is also now a requirement for condominium associations to have reserve funding for building repairs. Champlain South Condo Association didn't have any money for the repairs, so they continued to put them off. It caused a disaster. In the meantime, after putting off repairs, the condo board did hire Securitas, a security company, and install an emergency alert button in case the building needed to be evacuated immediately. Unfortunately, the security guard was unaware of the severity of her position and never fully understood the importance of her position. The building's condition was so poor, and the condominium board was so set on keeping the building open that instead of fixing the issues, they hired a security guard to press an emergency evacuation button for when the building was about to collapse. That was the solution to the problem that the condo board had come up with. Unfortunately, the security guard was not trained nor aware of their position as the only chance 100 people had to survive when the building collapsed. I can guarantee you that if somebody had said to me, "Don't worry about the building collapsing and killing you in your sleep tonight. We pay a security guard to stand near an alarm, which she will activate when she notices the beginning of the building beginning to fall. So even though the building may collapse, it's okay, you'll make it out because of an alarm." I would not stay in a hotel like that. Unfortunately, the security guard didn't even know where the alert button was. Securitas insurance coverages would bear 517.5 million later in settlements. Well, let's go back to pretend you didn't have a clue about an emergency evacuation alarm or what to do exactly in an emergency. Why should you? You're on a beach vacation in an upscale condo. It's not like the building is about to collapse. You didn't think it'd be possible. Little did you know, though, Miami is a little corrupt. Developers have persuaded building inspectors for years with donations. The architect who designed the building, Friedman, lost his license or was suspended just years before his design of the Champlain. One of the three contractors on the project was Alfred Weisbrod. This man eventually lost his contractor's license in Florida after a slew of uncivil practices. To top it off, Nathan Reber, lead developer of the Champlain, was on the run from tax evasion. You didn't know any of this. However, tonight there's a loud cracking noise, which is the pool deck collapsing. Something's not right. You can sense it. You wake your wife up, you run downstairs, you get outside, and with 10 minutes, you witness 100 condo units smashing to the ground. Statutes of limitations would protect the original builders and architects at Champlain South from any claims. However, the recent construction in 2019 of the property next door, 87 Park property, would face a different fate. In 2018, there was a street in between Champlain South and 87 Park property. The city allowed 87th Terrace, that street, to be taken over by the developer for 10.5 million of 87th Park property. It was deemed in the best interest of the public. The city also fast-tracked the approval process. When they got rid of the street, they started to build 87 Park property. Now they abutted Champlain South's property line directly, and within 13 feet of driving their piles was structural components of Champlain South. The compression and the force and those waves coming off of those piles compromised the already troubled foundation of the Champlain. 87 Park also dewatered the soil so that the soil would be dry when they went to work. People have claimed, and the court has found, that that can upset the foundation of neighboring properties as well. John Moriarty and Associates General Contracting, their insurance and coverages paid 157 million to the victims. The developer and designers insurance companies paid out as well. The condo board is under pressure to pay out over 100 million, with its insurance covering 48 million. Developers, designers, contractors, homeowners associations, and security companies all had a part to play in this tragedy. It's strange how the security company was found most liable and the original contractors were off the hook completely due to the statute of limitations. The city appears to have a hand in the tragedy, but sovereign immunity protected them. It seems that whoever was the most immediately responsible at the present time of the collapse and could have prevented the tragedy was found as the highest liable. That is who bore the weight of the damages.